Good evening, everyone. I think I'm the last speaker for the day, I think, except for a panel. So first thing, I'll keep this brief. I'll keep it quite light on a topic that is quite heavy, if you may. And the last speaker has covered most of the things that I wanted to say. But let me start off by saying a couple of things so that I can bring some balance to what I want to share. AI is the rage, is a frenzy. AI has taken the world by storm. The question is, it has been just 2 years. Do we realize that? The last speaker said that AI has been around since 1956. Pretty much so. It's been 70 years since then. Then why is this rage, this frenzy in the last 2 years, especially since November of 2022? So there are a couple of things I want to address very quickly, and as I said, I'll keep it very light. In 15 minutes, I can't do too much. I'll take broad stroke comments, and two things. What is really happening now, and what's ahead of us? And is it really AI getting sentient? Is it really becoming intelligent in the sense of humans? So to get to that, I think to understand where we are now, how we got here, some of the things were said in the last few minutes, but let me take you back for the last 2-3 years and then take forward in my second part of the presentation. As you all know, the first thing that drives AI, and we have been hearing a lot about data fatigue, lack of data, but the point is, over the last 10 years or so, because of a couple of things, that data has exploded. That remains a fact. And it's exploded for a couple of reasons. Number one is Web 2.0, or known as social web, which came about 20 years ago. Until then, the internet was read-only internet. In 2000, with the Web 2.0, it became read and write internet, where we all contributed to the success of Facebook, Twitter, and the likes of it. They became billion-dollar companies because we contributed to the internet on Web 2.0, which is also known as social web. That has resulted in the enormous explosion of data that we accumulated. Literally 100 times growth in the last 10 years or so. Of course, Web 2.0 is transitioning into semantic web, Web 3.0, which is now will be known as read, write, and own web, which is essentially peer-to-peer web. That will further drive this explosion of data. The other thing, of course, we all know that AI requires enormous computing power. And if you look at this slide, there are a couple of things I will quickly drive. Number one is the number of transistors per chip has actually grown phenomenally in the last 100 years. If you roll back about 20 years ago, a Pentium Intel chip had only about 3 million transistors. Intel 486 had 3 million chips, and Motorola had about 1 million transistors per chip. But if you look at today, we are somewhere in between. We have grown in the last 10 years, particularly, from 1 million transistors per chip to 10 billion transistors. If you roll back 6 months, NVIDIA B200 GPU, it has 208 billion transistors per chip, and each chip is capable of 20 petaflops per second. And also, NVIDIA just released 6 months ago NIM, which stands for NVIDIA Inference Microservices, which is essentially AI in a box. The world's one of the most powerful computers, that's known as Frontier, it's capable of 1 exaflops per second. That is, if I have to put that in numbers, it's about 1 billion calculations 100 million times over per second. That's the kind of enormous computing power that has transcended in the last few years. And the other thing that drove us to LLM's ChatGPT in November 2022 is also open source, which didn't exist 10 years ago. Open source communities, the ChatGPT that was developed is partly open source, partly proprietary. But let me say what was open. The TensorFlow algorithms, the transformer architecture, I'll come to that in a minute, all of them were open source. So it is the data, it's the processing power, and it's open source that drove us here. Very quickly, besides the data, processing power, open source, two other things happen in the scientific world. One of them is, of course, led to NVIDIA becoming the trillion-dollar company overnight. And to put things in perspective, NVIDIA today is about 3.5 trillion market valuation, exceeding Apple, exceeding Amazon, exceeding Microsoft. And bear in mind, NVIDIA has only about 30,000 employees, whereas Microsoft has about 250,000 employees, and Apple has about 150,000 employees for a company that is valued 3.3 billion ahead of a trillion ahead of all of the others. Bottom line, what drove them is the GPU. And GPU, NVIDIA had this GPU for decades now and was largely used for computer gaming. But a paper written by University of Toronto professors, which led to also the Nobel Prize for Nobel Prize winner, they wrote a paper in 2012 with actually titled ImageNet Classification with Deep CNN that demonstrated the capabilities of GPUs for large volumes of AI-based, CNN-based algorithms and models. The second paper that led to the transformer, which led to the creation of LLMs and ChatGPT, is a paper in 2017 written by the folks from DeepMind at Google, by Vaswani and the 7 others. And it's interestingly titled, Attention is the Only Thing You Need. That is the paper that led to the development of transform architecture, which led to the development of ChatGPT and the LLMs. Well, I've been told to fast forward, so I'm going to do that. The other thing that is unfolding in front of us is quantum computing. Up until now, traditional computing is based on binary, which is essentially a linear mathematical calculations. As we move into quantum, it has a multiplier effect. To put things in perspective, again, quickly, it is 100 million times faster than any mathematical calculations. That also means that it is leading into new generation of algorithms and AI apps. Now, to put things in perspective from an economic perspective, very quickly, I'm speaking fast because of the time. Those are the numbers. That's for you to read. I don't have the time to go through it. It's mind-boggling. But I take the last one. According to World Economic Forum, it'll replace 85 million jobs, and they say it'll create 97 million jobs. Let me take the first one very quickly. AI is far more capable than any one of us, whether it's writing a program or doing a mathematical calculation, or even developing a website, or designing, or even as an actuarian, or a pathologist, or a radiologist. My question is, where are these 97 million jobs going to come when AI can replace all of these jobs? Think about it. I don't have the time to dwell on it, but it is an interesting question. What would be those 97 million jobs when AI can do what a radiologist can do? AI can do what a programmer can do, and that too for a fractional cost. It costs a few cents only to write a website using AI today. It does everything from designing the site map to creating the HTML code to PHP to testing it, responsiveness, and launching it in fractional cost in few cents only. So LLMs are the generative AI? The answer is very quickly, big data, computing, heavy resources. Bigger the better, bigger the capabilities. It also has its own downside. It is wreaking havoc with regards to environment and pollution. When creating LLM, ChatGPT, it produced 539 metric tons of carbon dioxide. It is also, please bear in mind, the earlier speaker also, one of them spoke about it, ChatGPT, daily power usage is about worth 200,000 US households usage of electricity. Every time that we chat on ChatGPT or Meta AI or Llama, every conversation is about 50 centiliters of water or one plastic bottle of water for every single conversation that we have with any LLM. Think about it. 40% of the world is facing scarcity of water. AI is influencing all of the decisions that we make. I don't have the time to labor, but quickly saying any purchasing decision, anything that we buy on Amazon, Netflix, all influenced or determined by AI. Briefly, but who gets hired, who gets a bank loan, who goes to jail, who gets released, is largely will be driven by AI, and it's happening as we speak. So essentially, is more data, more computing power, better AI algorithms and better AI models leading to better product, and more users again, it's a flywheel effect in terms of development. I'm going to play this video very quickly. I need the volume. Can I have the volume? That's unfortunate. Okay. Can I take 2 minutes to at least conclude? Nope. Thank you very much. My apologies.